So here's the thing about Princess Carolyn and Ralph Stilton from Bojack Horseman. It's not really an unpopular opinion in the fanbase to want Princess Carolyn and Ralph to end up together, and to feel that Judah and his romance came out of nowhere after Ralph and Princess Carolyn were so built up. I don't personally share this opinion, but I can understand the affection for PC and Ralph's relationship. He is such a great guy and a fun match for Princess Carolyn, but ultimately, their relationship was not meant to be. And here is why. Their first date does go remarkably well, but there's a large period of time between that and their second date, largely due to Princess Carolyn's prioritization of her new agency, much to Ralph's dismay. While she was a first priority for him, as we can see from him not dating anyone else after she took some time away, her career was more important to her at the time. And this is one of the more central forms of conflict in this relationship, as Ralph is rather ambivalent about her return to work. In fact, when they first begin officially dating in the season 3 finale, when Princess Carolyn realizes she wants to be a manager, Ralph says,
"Because I don't want to share you with anybody."
He is supportive of her going into business for herself, don't get me wrong, but he is notably concerned about her sinking further into the industry that made her unhappy for so long, and for that industry to take her away from him for an extended period of time. Even though we know now that after the end of the series, being a manager was her desired career, and ended up being the right path for her in the long run, even if it did contain some trying times. And it is very clear when she is with Ralph vacationing in Egypt and simply being his significant other, she feels incomplete. PC definitely used work at times to avoid her own personal problems, for sure. But that doesn't change the fact that work is an important part of her life, regardless of whether she is using it. There is a reason she fights so hard to be a mother that also works and runs her own business. That's just who she is. She states plainly that she'd lose her mind without her job. She cannot only be a mother, she needs other priorities.
I'm dying here, Bojack. I need my job. I love my job.
And even if Ralph is supportive, he just stated that it's not really what he wanted. He was looking for the more traditional family roles, with PC staying at home with their child, and him working for his greeting card company, or greeting card division of his family's hotel company. I don't really know. It was never clear to me what their family was even rich for. I think Ralph is able to handle this change and move forward with Princess Carolyn also heading up her own management firm, but there is definitely a silent wish that he had to put aside about wanting more time with Princess Carolyn. I'm not calling Ralph or PC a bad person, but the fact that their own priorities don't really align, even if they are willing to make it work, is definitely a reason why this relationship didn't end up lasting. Judah, on the other hand, admires Princess Carolyn for her work ethic, and actively encourages and adds to her business ideas, being more of a partner in all aspects of her life, rather than stifling them or silently supporting and putting his own wishes on hold. Overall, I think they had different wants for the balance of the relationship versus their own independent life. While Ralph wanted a bit more of a traditional family, with Princess Carolyn spending most of her time home with the children or with him, Princess Carolyn wanted to work as well and integrate that into her life along with being a parent. She needs to have control. And while they're dating throughout season 4, there is a little bit of a push for that control. While they don't fight super often. I think due to Princess Carolyn's upbringing where she had to take care of her mother and her siblings and cover for them just so they wouldn't end up out on the street, she's used to having to control every aspect of her life. I mean, we met her mother. She isn't terribly present, let's say. Princess Carolyn did all the work in taking care of the house and her mother, especially after her siblings were gone. It's why she feels the need to keep her old apartment, just in case things don't work out, which is what she's used to. Her mother would always end up screwing things up, so she learned to prepare for the worst. It's also why she keeps the other miscarriages from Ralph. Now, I don't agree with her on this. Ralph does have the right to know when they're trying for a baby themselves, but I do understand why she does it. She wants Ralph to see her and to see herself as the indestructible woman that her acquaintances view her as. All throughout Roofy, they make a point to highlight Princess Carolyn's resilience and strength.
You're a real tough broad, except for, the uterus area. Pretty weak.
Or everybody commending her on how she just takes everything in stride. So when Ralph suggests other options and tries to console her after learning about the miscarriage, she views it as pity and them seeing her as weak, which we all know she is not. And we also know that Ralph doesn't feel that way about her either, but it is a front she feels she has to keep up because of her upbringing and home life. Within this argument, she also brings up how his parents view her and don't like her, saying that she isn't easy. She becomes frustrated and defensive because she wants to be the perfect, resilient, and easy to bring home to mom and dad girlfriend, but she isn't, and she can't be. And that really frustrates her because she is used to holding everything together for herself and not needing any extra help or any sort of consoling. It's really hard to watch her break up with Ralph simply because he suggests looking for other ways to have a baby, but it goes back to that issue with control. Princess Carolyn had a plan for her life, one that included her having a baby just the way her mother did so many times. And this time she would be able to be a good mother to the child and be there for them, almost fixing the universe with that action, correcting for what her mother had done to her and her siblings. So when Ralph tells her that it's time for them to look elsewhere as having her own baby isn't feasible, she ends up exploding and telling him to get out. And just to clear things up, this isn't a defend PC shit on Ralph video. Their relationship didn't end because either was an overtly bad person. Their relationship ended because of differing values and, most importantly, timing. It wasn't until after this that Princess Carolyn learned how to accept that she needed help and that she didn't need to do everything on her own. Because, as we know, in season 5, Princess Carolyn does decide to move to adopt a baby, as Ralph suggested. Besides, PC also admits that she wishes he'd called her afterwards, or just straight up not left when she kicked him out. She knows that if she had stayed with Ralph, she would have likely gotten over her need to do it herself, eventually, like she did on her own, and been able to have a baby with him using those other options. However, when Ralph sees her again, her plan has changed, which brings us to their reconciliation in season 5. I think a lot of people were expecting them to get back together in ancient history, me included. But what I really like about that episode is it shows why they broke up in the first place and clarified it for those audience members that might have been confused why she forced him to leave her apartment after that fight, even if Ralph was generally trying to be nice. After getting an opportunity for a potential adoption, Ralph drives Princess Carolyn to the hospital to pick them up. On the way, he comments on the fact that she changed her mind. PC states that it was
The way you said it.
I'm not mad.
that caused her to get so angry. However, as we know, Ralph isn't particularly aggressive in that scene in Ruthie at all, which I think is where some people get confused at Princess Carolyn's motivation. He suggests it calmly, but the implication that Princess Carolyn couldn't do it herself is what set her off at the time. She needed to be able to take care of herself and be that strong rock that everyone throughout her life has always seen her as. Since Ralph began to pity her and began seeing her as vulnerable, Princess Carolyn began to push back and defend herself.
Why didn't you tell me?
Are you kidding? I don't want you looking at me like that. Like that!
Insisting even further that it has to be her to do it, and kicking him out when he disagreed. But after having some time alone, Princess Carolyn learned that it was okay to ask for help from others.
It's just really hard to need people.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Thank you.
Which is why she's even able to let Ralph come along with her at all in this episode. But along with that, her plan had changed. She realized that she didn't need to do this with another person, and she wanted to take on motherhood by herself. Now, she does marry Judah later on, but she embarks on the journey and gets a handle of it all on her own. Not to mention the fact that she can't control when she meets the right person. So when Ralph springs the idea of becoming a family on her all of a sudden, she becomes a tad upset with him again, as it's not really what she wants anymore. Not only that, but he intended to take away her own choice by jumping in on this opportunity with her. Not that I think he's a bad person for this or anything, but I do understand Princess Carolyn's frustration and want to navigate this journey in her own way. I do get Ralph too, where he heard her say that she felt it was a mistake kicking him out, so he feels that he shouldn't leave now, but I believe she more meant she wanted him to stay then, not anymore. She's outgrown that need and that wish, and she has a new one, and unfortunately there's nothing Ralph or anyone else could do to change that. And honestly, I think that is for the best. As we saw, Princess Carolyn has a beautiful, wonderfully happy ending, and it is because of the development that she went through after her breakup with Ralph and her ability to learn to accept help, even if she didn't end up getting back together with Ralph in the end. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what the next video should be about, but if you want to support us further, you can go to patreon.com/PosiTVty. That's POSITVTY. There you get all these videos way before they go out on YouTube. You get to vote on what you want to see on the channel, and you get the full reaction so you can watch whatever TV show we're watching right along with us. So it's a great way to get more content for yourself, but also support us in the process. Plus, you can join for free to get free previews of the videos about the first 2 minutes of each one before they release on YouTube. So even if you don't want to pay, it's still a great way to get more content, and we appreciate every bit of support that we get. So thank you all so much, and we will see you for the next video. Peace!